Why ancient gods feared women. Long before the stars had names, and the moon kept track of time, the world was ruled by gods. These gods were mighty and proud. They commanded storms, shaped mountains, and whispered life into the first men. But there was one thing they feared: women. This fear did not come from weakness. No, it came from knowing something the gods did not wish to admit. Women held power even they could not control. In the beginning, the gods had made men strong and obedient. Men built temples, offered sacrifices, and bowed their heads without question. But when the gods created women, they did not realize what they had done. Women were not like men. They asked questions. They challenged the gods. And worst of all, they created life. The first woman, Liora, was made from starlight and river clay. She was given to the first man as a companion. But Liora was not content to simply walk beside him. She wandered the earth, learning its secrets. She spoke to the trees, and they whispered back. She drank from hidden springs and gained their wisdom. When the gods saw this, they grew uneasy. One day, Liora stood before the great god Veres, keeper of storms. "Why do you command the sky?" she asked. "Who gave you the right to decide when rain falls and when the land stays dry?" Veres was furious. No one had ever questioned him before. "I am a god," he thundered. "I do as I please." But Liora was not afraid. "If you are so powerful," she said, "then tell me, where does the wind go when it is not blowing? What name does the moon whisper to the sea?" Veres could not answer. The other gods, watching from the clouds, grew nervous. They saw that women were different. Women did not accept rules without reason. They sought knowledge, and knowledge was dangerous. The gods gathered in their golden hall to discuss the problem. "If women continue this way," said Horus, god of war, "they will teach men to think for themselves. Then who will worship us? We must take their power," declared Liora, goddess of the night. "We will make them forget their strength." And so the gods wove a spell. They whispered into the dreams of women, telling them they were weak. They buried their wisdom under layers of fear. For generations, women believed they were lesser. They bowed their heads. They stayed silent. But magic never lasts forever. Deep in the earth, the old knowledge slept. And from time to time, a woman would hear a voice. A whisper from the trees, a hum in the wind, reminding her of the truth. One such woman was Aria. She lived in a village where women were told to speak only when spoken to. But Aria heard the river singing. She listened, and the water told her stories of the time before the gods ruled. Aria began to ask questions. Why do men make the laws? She wondered. Why do gods demand sacrifices? The village elders warned her to stay silent, but she refused. The gods, watching from above, felt the old fear return. "She remembers," Liora whispered. Veres clenched his fists. "Then we will remind her of her place." A storm was sent to Aria's village. The sky turned black. Lightning struck the earth. The people trembled, but Aria stood tall. She walked to the center of the village and raised her hands to the sky. "You do not frighten me," she called. "I know your secret. You fear us because we do not need you." The gods roared in anger, but Aria's voice was stronger. She sang a song older than the gods themselves. The wind carried her words. The earth echoed her strength. And one by one, the women of the village remembered. They stood beside Aria. Together, their voices rose. Not in prayer, not in begging, but in defiance. The storm faded. The sky cleared. The gods, for the first time, knew fear. For centuries, they had ruled by making others believe they were powerless. But women had never been powerless. They had only forgotten. And now, they were remembering. The gods retreated. They did not vanish. Gods never truly do, but they no longer commanded without question. Women taught their daughters the old songs. They passed down the stories of Liora and Aria. They reminded each other the gods feared them for a reason. Because women could create. Because women could defy. And because women, when they stood together, could change the world. And so even now, when the night is quiet and the stars seem to whisper, listen carefully. You might hear the echoes of their voices, the ones who refused to bow, the ones the gods feared most. The end.